What's Your View podcast.
Welcome to the What's Your View podcast with Olu Dolapo. This podcast was created as a space for real people with real life experiences that most people can relate to and learn from. Have a great time listening. This episode is part 1 of a 3-part conversation with friends. And on today's episode, Dolapo and friends answer a very important question: if it is important for children to be street smart. Enjoy.
Hi guys, welcome back to my podcast, and today I'll be having a conversation with a few of my friends, and we'll be talking about different intriguing topics or titles that I think is pertinent to our generation at the moment. And so the next voices you'll be hearing, my friends.
Hi guys, my name is Festus and I'm a fashion designer.
Hi, my name is Yujide. I'm a legal practitioner.
Hi, I'm Oluwasobi Akinfewa. I'm an entrepreneur.
Hello, my name is Praise. I'm a digital marketer.
My name is Tunde Adamson, and I currently work as a tech entrepreneur.
All right, so let's just jump into it without further ado. And the first thing we'll be talking about is it important for children to be street smart? And over time, I've got to realize that there's something called street smart and being book wise. Is it book smart rather? Book smart and street smart, right? And I think for most of us, we were raised to be book smart, and not necessarily. It was when life started happening to us that we had to that we learned to be street smart. So I just want us to share our thoughts on what you think. Do you think it's necessary to bring up a child from scratch to be street smart, or a combination of two? Or maybe just raise the child to be like book smart from scratch, and maybe later on in life, the same way we learned, or the same way life happens to us, and we have to learn that, you have to be street smart too at some point. What do you think is the proper thing to do, or what do you think is the similar right to do depending on the kind of country we are living? So anybody wants to start first?
Yeah, being smart for me is to be clever majorly. So first I have to define what being smart is.
Being street smart?
We define what the smartness in being street smart is now. So being smart is to be clever, to be able to provide solutions to. First, let's go beyond the society. Provide solutions to your personal problems, and now going to being street smart. A lot of this our society has taught us to be book smart. The way we treat people that are not really smart, as it were, in school. Maybe the D student, the E student, we see them as the non-entities. Whereas we find out that living school, they are the ones that are even better, majorly because they pay attention to the street madness. Although they are not taught by parents anyway. The street smart are not taught by parents. Most times we are being taught by people around us, what we see in the society. So I feel not about just being book smart. Book smart is what teaches us how to be able to communicate intellectually. You are somewhere that people can communicate with you and get wisdom from it. But this street smart gives beyond just the book, beyond the noun, pronouns, and all. And mathematics, who does dy dx help at this point in time?
Okay, first, I think the first thing we need to tell our parents or, the society is that you can actually be book smart and also be street smart. I think our parents, for our generation, I don't know how upbringing is in this generation, they live in the fear of you knowing, being street smart and not doing well in the classroom. I think that's not totally right. In fact, it is beautiful, not totally right, that when you're street smart, you won't be smart in the classroom. They feel like once you're out there, the classroom will suffer. And I don't think that's correct.
I think it's true, because I was having a conversation with somebody last weekend, and he was talking about how he met someone in the prison when he was in the prison, and the guy is a major hacker, right? And how the guy dropped out from 4 schools in Nigeria because he's enjoying what he's doing, he's hacking, right? And he's getting his money. So he's not paying attention to what is going on in the school again. So which means the guy is so street smart that he has lost focus on what should be going on in school, right? So based on what Mr. Festus said, right, I think most of the time our parents will never raise us to be street smart. The same way I think we will not raise our children to be street smart. The same way our parents do not raise us to be street smart. They will rather raise us to be book smart. But until life start happening to you, that's when you not realize that, oh, I have to be street smart. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, street smart, book smart really looks like looks fine from afar. Being a doctor, being a doctor, being a lawyer, or those things. I started my business in school. I learned in school anyway. So I got to school 100 level. I told them when I was leaving home, I said I was never going to come back home. And it sounds rude, it sounds arrogant, but yet I didn't go back home until I finished my service. I learned fashion designing in school, and getting out of school, it was not even fun for me to go back home. And you'll be surprised that I was doing fine in school because I still graduated with a 2-1. Because I was paying my own school fee, and at the same time, I was learning. So I could focus on my book. At the same time, I was learning.
Okay, I think Tido wants to say something about street smart.
All right, for me, anytime I hear people talking about being street smart or book smart, I think for me it means something else totally. Because for me, being street smart has a lot to do with being very, very observant, especially of your environment. And oftentimes, when you are being referred to as street smart, it's usually as a result of when that level of awareness is not expected from you. Let me just put it that way. So an example to that is when you have a child in a particular environment, even if you would launch into the world, you would definitely have to come from somewhere. That is, for a period of time, you spent some amount of time of your life in a particular environment. And in that process, whatever your privileges are and whatever you see your situations to be, however you choose to approach it, however you choose to deal with it, can sometimes be interpreted as being street smart in that sense. Because for a child that grew up in Lagos Island, in an environment where, when they are talking about being street smart, when they are talking about being street smart and the reason why you should even be street smart, when you come from some places that are where you can disappear today, and for the rest of your life, nobody will know where you disappeared to. For a child that lived in that kind of environment, being street smart for that kind of child will be different from a child that lived in an environment where, there were no too much activities that can destroy your life, as it were, that can just make your life meaningless. So the reason why I'm saying, for me, it's actually from a different perspective, is because of my own upbringing and my own. What street smart really means to me is a child that is just supposed to be a child, but that child is already very, very self-conscious and self-aware. I don't know if you understand what I mean. Where the child is meant to be taken care of by parents, but the child is now the one having to manage his activities. Basically, that's what being street smart for me is, really. I feel it might not necessarily be, that might not be the totality of it, but in a way, that's usually where it kind of originates from, basically. While being book smart, as it were, book smart for me is just when it comes to academics, and beyond that, another thing again is, let me cite myself as an example. When I was in school, I was very numb to things, in the sense that I was too quiet. And not quiet in the sense that I was shy, but I was quiet in the sense that I was very daring. My teachers would say, "What is wrong with you?" I would beat you out, and I would just smile. And then I think I was about 9, 8, being in that age range. People will often wonder, what's going on with this child? What's wrong with this child? And the sincerity is that if you, as a teacher, comes to my school the very first time, if you see me, you will think I'm the most brilliant student in my school. In fact, if not because teachers started paying attention to me being present in class, me writing tests, people would have automatically assumed I was very brilliant. The only time you will see my brilliance is when I'm writing exam. Like if I read the exam, I won't score the lowest in the class and I won't be the highest in the class. I'll just be in between. A very, very average student. You know that kind of average student that does not really care. Like even when I collected my result, the school gave me a result and I changed it. I changed my result. Like they gave me a result, I said, this is not my result. No, I brought it higher. I brought it not like I was aspiring high, but the people I was taking the result to, I just had a feeling like they didn't really care about the result. But they had what they wanted to see.
The people you are taking it to whom?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They had what they wanted to see in the result to make the result a result to them. But in a way, they do not really care about it. They don't even care if I actually know what I went to the school to go and study. So in a way, for me, that kind of child, is he book smart? No. But in another way too, a child that knows what exactly is needed, not when it comes to manipulating your result now, but when you have to write exam, you just write what is needed there, then you get up. You don't really see it as anything, even though there are consequences for things. But for me, when it comes to being this book smart and all, I think that's the only way I can explain what I think.
So I think when it comes to being book smart or street smart, I think it largely depends on a child's upbringing, right? I think you might liken book smart and street smart to what they call in local parlance boti and pako, you get. And I feel like it just depends largely on the parents. So I grew up, I didn't grow up in one rich environment like that, but it was very, very sheltered. So I had this childhood friend that lived next door, who his own parents would, like, whenever they were going to work or something, maybe there was holiday, they would let them, go out, enjoy. Me and my sisters were always locked inside. And like now, like this is like more than 20 years after, right? We've turned out pretty like differently. The guy is very, very daring. Like he would do something and I'm like, I can't do this. But like there are pros and cons to this. So I just feel like there has to be a balance, right? So like for me now, like there are still some things that I've come to learn from my friends. You get, like something that I did not learn from my parents, and like it has helped me in a large way. But for him, like it was just left to the world, like to like he has seen like the extremes of it all. So like when you say something is OD, like do you get? So I just feel like there has to be a balance to it, and I feel like parents too also have they have a part to play, because if you keep a child sheltered for too long, he will grow up not knowing his left from his right. Like he will start learning things at an age where like he should have bypassed all of these things. I also have a friend who, like, he grew up in a more social, like a more privileged environment, like socioeconomically, and I don't know, I feel like he's more, I'll say, for lack of a better word, exposed. More like he knows how to handle himself. I'm a kind of person that just learns from afar. I just learn in silence. Like I won't say I'll come and teach you. I just study how you do your stuff, and I can just see that. I mean, you are way ahead of where I am. So yeah, there has to be a balance to it.
All right. So being book smart and street smart. So I would say that book smart is being academically sound. That means you know your onion. You went to school and you studied and you did well and all of that. And then street smart, what I like in street smartness too is like if you look at those kids, like you said, that those kids that they are usually exposed to information and all of that, their social life is on point. You notice that they are very intuitive. They are the way they make decisions, for us, back then, we want to do one thing in our life, we have to start thinking about daddy, mommy, pastor, church, uncle, you start factoring those people. But for those guys, there's a way our parents still shape our decision.
And I also think like that has been book smart to an extent, has made us to like not take some step because we consider what will my mom say, what will my dad say, what will my uncle say. It's just now that we have now started on learning how to
You try tinting your hair.
just live your life and move on. Do you get?
Yeah. Not just
Yeah, society. A lot has to do with it. So that's why we have to change the narrative. I want generally. You said something. You said it's possible we also teach our children to be book smart. Me, I will not teach. See, it's a balance. You have to be book smart because I did well in school. I will show my child this is a certificate. See, look at the professional courses I did, even though I did not do so much. But see, you will learn. You will know one more way. But at the same time, as they are growing up, look at what Ronaldo is doing to his kid now. That's street smartness. It doesn't have to do with going to be hustling on the road, selling akara. It's beyond that. Like, they've exposed that child to what professional football is and all of that. Same thing to those tech guys. And I was telling my husband one day, I said, see, it's a privilege to school in Unilag. Then I detest Unilag. Like, I don't, maybe because I grew up in Lagos all my life, Lagos. I was like, I don't want to do anything in Lagos. So it was not like, we went to Funab, that bush. I said, see, leave Funab. But the truth is, if I look at my friends then, like, that went to Unilag, the way they do stuffs, even from school, 100 level, me that I'm in Funab, even though myself, I brought my Lagos street smartness to Funab, and I started doing stuffs. I started doing events, all of those things in school. It was strange to those people there. Most of them from Ibadan. I'm not saying those people from that side, they don't. But exposure, do you understand? So for a student in 100 level in Unilag, as you are leaving class, you dey hustle. You are going out there, you are learning stuff. You know, like you said, you learn fashion designing in school and all of that. For those in Lagos, there was a guy, before we graduated, he already had this fashion house. So he knows what he's going to do outside school. You're not thinking of going home. If you will go home safe, just to, you know. So that's just being street smart. And there's a need for balance. So there's nothing like you should be more street smart than book smart. Let there be a balance. Like, read your books, do what you have to do, and also be, because it helps you make informed decisions. Like you are if you look at those people that are spontaneous in their decision making, their life generally, they are street smart. So they are not thinking, what will my daddy say? I cannot teach my see Ronu, think now, like, what do you think you have to do now? It's not like I have to be strict and all of that. Make him understand that, see, to make this money, everything we are talking about is to make money and live the kind of life you want, a purposeful life and all of that. But it takes money. See, to get this is how I did this. I'll start exposing these children to how things can be done, and then you too think of what you can do about your life. I did business administration, that's what I chose. For some people, they picked microbiology, and they gave them a Greek whatever. You know what Bisan was saying about soil science. So there's a way Nigeria can even change your destiny and change everything about you. But at the same time, I have guys that they did soil science, all those FUNAB guys are Greek, and they are doing fine in tech. One jar and one. So as you are doing your soil science, be learning coding, be learning all of those things. So those are the factors.
So is being street smart or book smart necessarily about money?
No, I think yes, exactly. Informed decision, which at the end of the day may or may not pave way for the child. Now, I was saying something earlier we don't disagree with. I'm still going back to that, which is that our parents, and I still insist that our parents. Okay, let me say our parents, because I believe that parents in our generation or parents in this generation know better. They know better in the sense that nobody is telling their child anymore to be a doctor. Nobody is telling their child anymore to be a lawyer. I remember going for my niece's graduation at Lagoon. That was about 5 years ago. So far back as 5 years ago, it was only one person out of about 30-something of them that graduated. Only one person wanted to do medicine. And I was the first. I went to a government school with about 360-something of us graduating, and I could tell you that half the science classes, half of them wanted to do either medicine and fine. Many of them eventually did that. But see, the undertone of these things have to do with our parents. They, in a way, they won't tell you. I'll use my dad as an example. My dad will not tell you do medicine. He won't tell you be a lawyer. But my dad will tell you can't do anything in his house that he's not a professional course. Please, what's it telling you indirectly? And that's the thing, because that is how they grew up. That is what they know. You come meet my dad and tell him that, you studied soil science or you did sociology and you want to be a banker. He will tell you what's the correlation. But now there are certifications. There are a lot of things that actually qualify you for courses or, professions you did not study in school. Now, being street smart for me is just, having the basic practical intelligence. Being analytical, being creative, being practical. I mean, you can think on the spot, like Toby rightly said. You know what to do. I mean, imagine them telling you to talk about a thing and you're freezing up first. Or you're timid. But they let them give you an equation to, solve right there, even before they land. Yeah. You're already giving the answer like you're in cowbell competition. But I mean, but faced with real life issues, you're so numb. You're looking. Don't blame us. Don't blame them. These kids, all they know, all these kids know is, from the house to the car to the school back to the car back home. I mean, and they are seeing you, like, your parents are seeing you with children that will actually expose you, and they feel like these children are going to influence you in negative. I totally agree with that. It's a balance. Look at our trending tech entrepreneurs today. Many of them have the privileged upbringing. Many of them have the privileged background. But that was not just it for them. Networking paved the way. And you can't network if you're not smart. You can't network if all you know is 2 + 2. You can't. You can't network if you're not ready to compromise. Now, it doesn't have to be negative. But you compromise your stand. You compromise what you know to imbibe what? I mean, see, the society needs you to be smart. Same way. And truly, like she rightly said, you have to be smart with your books. Because many times, that is the first thing that paves the way. Or that's the first thing people want to see. Your results. Yeah. Your results. You can't tell me, oh, okay, you had a third class. Yes. For somebody who had a 2-1 and somebody who had a third class, the pace in which somebody with a 2-1 will move will actually be faster than a third class. If we will not deceive ourselves. No. I get what you guys are saying, right? But this is what I'm saying. You will move faster in the sense that before people will listen to you now, at least, okay, immediately after graduation, or let's put it that way, immediately after graduation, before people will listen to you, just certificate you're putting on the table.
So it seems
I agree about some. When, no, not even job applications. Not even job applications. Wait, do you guys not pitch? For the tech guys, do you not pitch?
But do you know that
I'm talking about the first break. Like many times, people see, we've not left that phase. We've not left that phase where people still think that, oh, what you know, let's not get it twisted. And like she rightly said, see, the kids, my children will be smart at school and they'll be smart outside. I mean, that is not negotiable. I did well in school. Do you get? I'm a lawyer today because I studied for it. So you need it. We cannot just ignore that part and just, oh, okay, all I need to know is how to do this. You can code, you can do this. Yeah, we'll develop those skills. We will teach them. Look at the dancers of today. Look at, these days, people are even teaching their children what they know. The extra skills. Nobody is, yes. I was saying this to good schools, but you see those extra skills, so you must know it. I am a baker, my kids will learn how to bake.
It's just like your child.
I'm a good cook. Exactly. Like, they know what to do, as in they've left us backwards. And see, even parents do not want to remain there anymore. How much more making the kids remain there? And the only thing your child wants to talk about is book that you yourself, you may not even know. I mean, I always tell myself that, see, my child had better not come to me with arithmetics. Because we'll find a way. So that's just what I think. I mean, see, just your practical intelligence is important. Your brilliance is also important. I mean, you can, and that's the good thing about children. They learn early. Do you get? If you imbibe those things in them while they are young, they get used to it. Do you understand? It makes them stand even when you're not there. Do you get? As we teach our kids, as we teach ourselves to, know the basic things in class. Also, like, it's not a bad thing to sit them down, teach them about life, what you know. Things going on. I mean, exposure, really. Exposure. Like, our exposure forms our smartness on the streets. You don't have to take them around the world. You don't have to. You don't have to take them around the world. What you know, pass it on to them and be really sincere about it. Be really sincere. Not, I was in class. My father and my mother can't even come and tell me that nonsense anymore. When I was in class, I was this. Good for you.
The best students.
I mean, good for you. Really good for you. That's what I think.
I just wanted to pass what you said about our parents teaching us like stuff they've learned about life. Just a quick story here. I had this bully in my primary school. I think primary 4, they're about fat and all that. Yeah, I was bullied, yeah.
Is it a boy?
No. Funny, it was Yoruba. But like, this guy used to pick on me. Sometimes he would take my food, all of these things. And I went home, I was not like it. I spoke to my mom about it. And she just told me a story of when she was in secondary school, right? And she had this bully too. I think she was in GS1 or GS2 thereabout. And the girl had like, she had this bull leg. And she just used to pick on my mom. And one day my mom just said that she had enough. So she was approaching school and she saw the girl at the staircase. And the girl was about to talk. My mom just grabbed her leg and dragged her down the staircase. So the next day, you know what I did when I got to school? I stood up for myself. I started fighting. And I poked this guy. Well, actually, he initiated something. Okay. Like when he says, I stood up, I said, you're mad. Like I've done. So I started fighting, right? And next time I just removed like this metal spoon from my lunch box and I poked his stomach. This guy started crying. It brought so much, it's not good, but it brought so much satisfaction for like to me. Do you understand? So yeah, like if our parents like if they tell us stories about things they faced, it will actually help you, like, you know, facing life.
Like, because what I can just take from everybody's conversation here is that it's cool to be street smart, but be able to balance it with being
So I didn't introduce myself, but then I just want to say this. So for me, I feel like I'm a typical example of book smart and street smart, because while I was growing up, so for me, like while I was growing up, my dad was the go to school, read your books, all of that. But even though it wasn't pressurizing me, like Dolapo, you have to be first in your class and all of that. But then my mom was the kind of person that she felt like if I thought you want to be book smart, you have to be street smart. So what she would do is, like my dad, because of work now, like my dad would spend like 2 weeks at work, then 2 weeks at home and all that. So what my mom was doing is that, like, during that 2 weeks that my dad is not around, I could say maybe I want to go to Lagos to go and greet my friend. We live in Abeokuta, and I can say I want to go and greet my friend, and she'll say, oh yeah, go. And then for my dad, we'll tell my dad that if my daddy should call, she'll say she's sleeping. She went to play with the neighbors. But meanwhile, I was in Lagos, and I would go myself. She'll say I should go myself. Oh yeah, if I enter the bus from here, you go to this place, you go to that place, and all of that. And then,
this more of the parents traveling things. I actually learned it from her.
Yes,
that's what I was saying about
not know
it from my
anything.
friend. I don't know anything, but I will not ask her. I will not ask her directly. You just say, okay, I'm going to Lagos. So she say, okay, I'll stop here, I'll just be listening. Then that's how I go. That's how I knew how to move around. Because before now, like she said, my mom was more of like, let these kids, you know, handle themselves outside. But my dad was more, I don't know how to put it. He had this iron hand, you get, like, I don't want you going there. So that was kind of sheltered for me. So, but my mom did not she could not really enforce it. So I had to learn from friends. So
I feel like my bottom line is I feel like it still boils down to the parents. Like if you feel like, so we're saying parents, like parents is a combination of husband and wife. The husband might not really be the allow the child to, but like if you have the privilege to say, like if you have the knowledge to say, okay, this child should not only be book smart, like do the little you can do, just like the way my mom did. Like my mom will literally say, oh, she's sleeping. Meanwhile, like I'm with friends around, I'm literally playing. If you are privileged, your husband or maybe your wife might be the protective one. Don't do this, don't do that. But if you are privileged and you have the knowledge, if he doesn't really listen, you can say, okay, I would be the one to take care of this part for the children. I'll be the one to say, okay, let me give them this free hand so that as they are book smart. And for me, I was book smart. Like I used to pass in school. Like I used to do what my daddy wanted, and I used to do what my mom wanted. So like where it was balanced. So I was enjoying myself.
You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that probably being street smart is relative, because if you come from an environment where most of the children that were your friend, you guys tend to have the same circumstances when it comes to upbringing, when it comes to the kind of things. Imagine a child from 4 or 5 years old being told to go and hawk. And so, not just hawk now, in some particular kind of areas. And another thing again is that the child also knowing that, like you said, bullies are not just for children that are butty. Okay. Like even when it comes to street smart children, there are still bullies in that sector. Yeah. The only issue there now is that most of the bullies you have there, they are usually bullies that are trying to make you oga, better wise up. So they don't really have any. They are those kind of bullies where they won't poke you, but they will make you feel like all your problem will be within you without you knowing. You are the one that is scared. They are not trying to scare you. You are the one that is scared. You are the one that is worried. They know that you are scared. They know that you are worried. And what they are trying to make you break from, they are trying to make you look at them like this and see that you are the one that define the fear. When you look at them and you think you are seeing fear, then you see fear. But when you look at them and you think you are not seeing fear, you are not seeing fear.
I think something I've realized in regards to this is, even when you are seeing fear, you are not seeing fear from the perspective of turning back and going away. You are seeing fear and thinking, I can. Yeah, exactly. You are facing your fear and you are trying to be better. Do you get? Mostly, I think that's what it's usually about.
One of the things that leads to street smart children being spontaneous is being able to, like he said, being able to consciously make decisions very quickly, especially in a situation where a situation warrants you to be scared. Most of the time, warrants you to be scared. But because before that situation even happened, you already have like 6 or 7 escape routes within you already. Within you already. Like
could you review?
A typical example is, you might get somewhere and be scared, and maybe for a butty child, the child will be thinking, my daddy, my mommy, my daddy, my mommy. Before the child gets there, a street smart child, before the child gets there, the child already knows there is trouble in that place already. And the child is going to enter that place. And the child, before entering, the child will now think of ways of getting out. And one of the things that usually happen most of the time is that in cases where the child don't even get out of that situation, the child also wants to know what it feels like.
Not to get out of the situation.
Not to get out. What the pain will be.
It's not the
what the pain will be. You see that pain? If they withstand it and they see that they can overcome it, that person that has brought that pain to them is in deep shit. Me, I've burnt someone's house before because house. It was very funny because the person lied that I stole from them just because of the way I looked and the kind of environment I was staying in. When you live in this environment where your parents seem low budget and every other parent looks, so the children from those parents tend to be the victim of everything because people feel like when you see food, you don't eat that kind of food in your house. And the truth is, yes, I won't lie to you, the truth is, yes, when I see some food, then I look at those food. But oftentimes, it's not really what they are thinking that is running through my mind. It's not like I'm wondering how this food is sweet, this food is... most of the time, it's usually, why are we not eating something like this at home? Like, what that food does to that child is that it brings self-awareness. It makes the child go back home and look at the environment and try to... Because most street smart children that are born in low-income communities or homes, they don't usually really know that they don't have. They are usually quick to be satisfied. When you give them gari, they take it and leave until they now start having people that do things in a way, and they now start wondering like, why is this person's own like this and my own is different? So when they go back home, they tend to ask questions. They tend to, like, literally, I remember there was a time I told my dad I wanted to change my name because I would always be like, he would be like, why do I want to change mine? Because I would tell him, I have Tunde, Ayomide, I have Enoch, why did you call me Tunde instead? Because to me, I felt like Enoch made more sense. Because my friends, it was relatable. It was relatable then. Do you understand? It was relatable then. But my dad would then try to explain to me why, as much as I feel like that name is relatable, it shouldn't be born out of peer pressure. It should just be out of willingness to do. If that's what you want, go ahead with it. But don't let the motive for doing that, let it have a meaning. Let there be a reason why you're actually doing it. So that's why I think being street smart is relative, and being book smart too is kind of relative, because for a child now, like for a street smart parent, when my child comes and say, oh, Daddy, do you know this arithmetic? I don't assume that I don't know the arithmetic or whatever the child has got, because the first thing that will come to my mind is, how can this child be self-sufficient? How can this child solve this problem by himself or herself? So my first instinct will go to something that will make that child know that thing by himself or herself. And it's usually born out. Maybe it's not really good, because I've seen the other side to it. So, you know, there's this traumatizing part of it. When your siblings come and say, bro, Tunde, they gave us this question in school, and instead of just giving them a direct answer, instead of you just giving them a direct answer, you now start telling them that your mates know this thing. Why don't you know it? Next time, don't come and ask me. Go and pick your phone. Check YouTube. Check Google. Check.
The thing today is talking about them is an old topic.
Thank you for listening to What You View with Oludolapo. Do not forget to share, like, and leave a comment. Remember, you can reach out to us on Instagram at @whatyouView_Oludolapo. And if you use Anchor, do not forget to leave us a voice message and leave a comment. Thank you once again for listening.
What You View podcast.